In a world that screams for your attention, there's a place that invites you to peace. You don't need a building. You don't need a choir. You just need to turn your heart to Air One.
Air One. Songs that heal. Lyrics that pray for you when you don't have the words.
From Lauren Daigle to Elevation Worship and more.
This isn't just radio. It's worship for the everyday.
Escape the noise and worship now.
Download the Air One app. Ask your smart speaker to play Air One or visit air1.com. Air One. Worship now.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelt. Shake it off with Mert and Lucas. Live starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
Interesting beat. What is the name of that one, Ryan?
Well, Lucas, this one is called Revolt Baby by D. Masali. Real revolting tune to start out tonight's show.
I wonder how you meant that. In any event, very funny. But we're going to be talking about a revolt of sorts. Now, let's spend a few minutes talking about a very sad trend that's reshaping America's politics. Get ready, Mert. The Democratic Party's accelerating shift towards socialism, and in some instances with ideas that echo communist principles. Yeah, the judges are not in favor of that. This is an exaggeration or conspiracy talk. It's documented in the polls, primary results, candidate platforms, and blunt warnings from voices across the political spectrum. We're going to examine the data. We're going to share powerful quotes from pundits and leaders, and we're going to look at real-world examples. We're going to explore the historical record and close with what this means for the future of the American dream. Settle in. This is important. Let's begin. So, Mert, you okay with this shift toward communism? Are you and your comrades?
Listen.
Are you and your comrades out to destroy America?
Listen, you might as well get started, because I'm not going to let you put thoughts into my brain, because I know that's what you will try to do, because you're sneaky like that. So this whole narrative that you got, that there's some communism that's going on, I don't see that. But if you want to explain what you're seeing for yourself, go ahead. But I don't agree with what your premise is, but I'm willing to entertain it and have a discussion. So you can start with what you're noticing.
Well, look, what they're trying to do is destroy America, it's simply, and eliminate private property ownership. One of Mamdami's heads, Sia Weaver, she wants to see private property ownership eliminated. So what do you call that? What do you call that, Mert?
Listen.
She's on record saying that.
Listen,
that she wanted to cause pain to white people because of private property ownership and stopping private property ownership. Of course, she ignores the fact that millions of people of color and Hispanics own property too. But that's a fact that
she's talking about corruption. That's what she's talking about. See, you're not paying attention.
But that's
hard
communism.
She's talking about corruption. She's not talking about taking it from hardworking people. She's talking about corruption. See, that's the big thing that we have to deal with.
Well, they're talking about taxing hardworking people.
All these white-collar guys.
Taxing hardworking people to death.
Listen,
okay?
I know you're a big-time millionaire, so this would affect you, but all you white-collar criminals out there, I'm not calling you one, but all the white-collar criminals out there, you're to blame for this mentality, because there's been a lot of deceit and deception that has taken place and has forced good people like this lady. What was her name? I forget her name. But like this lady you speak of, from the bottom of her heart, she sincerely feels for the people, the blue-collar workers who have been mistreated.
Who comes from money, who parents own property.
You don't have.
She went to an expensive, fancy schmancy college.
Look at Donald Trump. Look at Donald Trump.
What are you talking about?
Blue-collar people relate to Donald Trump, so I don't want to hear about where she comes from, because if that was the case, they should hate Donald Trump, who's been a millionaire his whole life.
She comes from money. She comes from money, and then she's a lady of the people. No way.
Yes, this sweet lady is
destroying
trying
basic American principles, elimination of capitalism, and to replace it with government control, government allocation of resources, government everything. And I, for one, am not standing with it. I'm saying I'm surprised you, Comrade Roberts, Comrade Mertonator.
You see how he cuts me off while I'm trying to explain myself, so I can't get the narrative out there. You see, this is why this lady has to do things, because the rich community out there, they don't want to hear from the man of the people such as Mert. Mert's a man of the people. I understand the struggle out there. I understand somebody taking stuff from you when you're just trying to make a living for yourself, and you got some rich white collar guy, stealing your savings, stealing your 401k.
But you know what? They're not
so
Democrats
he can get a bigger
anymore,
yacht.
You're not a Democrat anymore, Mert. They use
You
this
can't speak
Democrat
for me.
socialist.
I never said that.
That's wordplay. Okay, these they're not Democrats. They're socialists. They're communists. Why don't they call themselves what they are? Because they knew they would never get elected. But now they're in. Now they're in. Okay?
Listen, I'd like to try to see a real communist try to actually implement their agenda, and you'll see that the ideas, and you'll see there's a lot of fake people out there who might call themselves a socialist or a socialist communist or whatever you want to slate them as, but they really won't be that, because if they really were that, it'd be so unpopular in America that it wouldn't work. What you're seeing is a lot of people that are trying to get away from the old established Democrat, and so they're slapping this socialist tag on the front of the Democrat to make themselves stick out and to distance themselves from the traditional way things have done.
That's
but
deception.
If they were really,
it's to make them more acceptable to the simple-minded who don't want to see the truth, and they're blinded by the promises.
Wait a minute.
Free rent, no rent increases, free child care, free buses. Yeah, this is all government doling out, but the money's got to come from somewhere. This is not American.
Well, wait a minute now. Hold on a second. When you say stuff like, hey, you'll get free health care, hey, you'll get free whatever busing. No, I'm saying when you're accusing these people of saying this stuff, that doesn't sound like some a creepy, nefarious type of thing. That sounds like, hey, I'd like to be able to get free health care and free child care and free all that stuff. It doesn't sound like what you're trying to make it seem like, hey, these people want to take everything in your life and turn it over to the government so that you can't be an individual. That's what you're trying to make it seem like.
When it comes to private property, yes, that's the plan.
They're not going to take anybody's private property. They're just going to tax you rich people more. Well,
they're starting by stopping with 0% rent increases so that poor little small landlords in particular can't afford to make ends meet.
You mean the landlords who aren't improving these terrible places these people are living in, and they're trying to act like they're under so much
not all
pressure
landlords are some lords. That's not fair to group them all in like that. Of course you have some buildings that are in disrepair, and some landlords should be zonked for that if they're not maintaining their buildings.
Hold on a second. That doesn't make sense, because in America, when you can no longer afford something, people usually will sell it so they can get off this burden.
Yes, and
so if it was such a burden, why don't they try?
They're trying to force this sale, and then they're going to. What Mamdani wants to do is sell it to organizations, have it picked up by supposed nonprofits that he aligns with, and have his nonprofits pick up these properties.
Listen,
this is nefarious.
Let me tell you what's going on.
Nefarious.
Let me tell you what's going on with that.
This is not American.
What's going on with that?
We should not sit for this. We should not sit for this.
Because I know what's really going on. What's happening is, it's like everything in New York City. If you can't afford to live here, for the person trying to rent, you have to go out. So if you're a landlord, the same thing should apply to you. If you can't afford the improvements on these properties, you need to get out.
Mert, you're avoiding the underlying fact. They are forcing this sale by not allowing rent increases on what world where everything is rising, inflation is rising, costs are rising, insurance, electricity, fuel, everything is rising, but they won't allow rent increases. What do you think that does? That forces landlords into distress. What are you talking about? Then that's government forcing, that's city government forcing landlords into distress, and we shouldn't be okay with that. But you, Comrade Roberts, seem to be absolutely okay with that.
Listen, I'm going to ignore that slanderous nickname you just tried to slap on me, and I'm going to say this. If you're a landlord and you have a property that's eligible for rent control, it makes sense to think that maybe maybe back in the day you applied for some of your facilities to be under that program, because that's usually what people do, because they'll get a guaranteed income. I know how this business works. So now that you got this guaranteed income, you're not willing to make the improvements because you can't afford it, and you think you should be able to.
What are you talking about? That income is not guaranteed. But since when is zero increase income? Mert?
I'm talking about the people who have these Section 8s and all this type of stuff in these properties, and then they're complaining about, hey, I can't afford the improvements, and they want to keep getting this income.
Section 8 doesn't keep up with the costs either, Mert.
But I'm saying there's a thing out there where people are talking about, hey, these Section 8s most of the income is paid by the state anyway. So if the state is paying for these properties, then you should contribute and improve these properties. I know how this thing goes. You're not about to try to twist this up and make it seem like these landlords are just
so
the victims.
Simplistic. Ryan, do you hear this simplistic approach that the comrade has here? What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a very simplistic approach, I might add.
Ryan's a psycho. He types with one finger and stuff like that. You got to watch out.
Here we go.
You got to
now
watch
he's
out for
attacking
Ryan.
you personally, Ryan. You going to sit for that?
It's a way to pull the curtain back. I'm a fine typer as it stands. But
you know what you could do? You could turn his mic off. You'll never know. By the way, Mert, to get back to the question, right? This veering to socialism, a Gallup poll, okay, reveals that 66% of Democrats hold a positive view of socialism. 66%, Mert, while only 42% view capitalism positively. What the heck is happening to our country, and the Democrats in particular?
You love these polls. Let me tell you something about these polls.
Yes, but I love them because
I don't know
facts.
who I don't know who the people are in this poll. So if I don't know who the people are, I'm not about to trust the poll, because they said Donald Trump wouldn't win, and he won back in the day. So all these polls are wacky. So I don't care.
Democrats.
Listen, if you say, would you prefer America be socialist or democratic? Most people say, hey, I would like it to be democratic. You're going to an area where you'll most likely see people trying to troll.
You're
or they
actually
just
correct. Among all Americans, capitalism still holds a positive 54%. That's all Americans. You're absolutely right. But when you poll Democrats, which is how I phrased it, 66% of Democrats favor socialism, comrade. And I want you to explain. Thank you. And the judges are not thinking highly of that conclusion, or you at all.
Well, you should change the poll. Ask those same Americans, would they be okay with giving their entire paycheck to the government so they could distribute it for them and distribute all their money and make all the decisions for them and determine where they can live at and determine where their kids can go to school and just let the government be
And you think this is okay? You think that's okay?
I think most people would say we're totally against that. So this little socialism thing that you're trying to make seem like it's such an evil thing, no, that's not what the people are agreeing to. They're agreeing to the free social services. That's what they want.
Democrats seem to be agreeing to it, Mert.
No, but your definition of what a socialist is not the definition that these people believe it to be. You're trying to make it seem like it's to the destruction of individuality in favor of the government running everything. What they're saying is the government should be providing a lot more than it actually does. So
and that's a welfare state, basically. Is that what you're advocating, Mert? So government tells you where to live, gives you a stipend, tells you where to go to school, or if you should go to school at all, where you should work, where you should live. Really?
You think
you're okay with
that's
that?
a very clever argument, but I will say this. If we're going to pay taxes...
so you're not going to answer that.
If we're going to pay taxes, think about this. If we're going to pay taxes, then we should be getting some for the taxes we pay. And if the people feel like they're not getting enough, then you have to adjust to the people. The people feel like they're not getting enough, so they're going to ask for more. There's nothing wrong with that.
Do you know what these comrades of yours want? They want to abolish the Senate. They want to subordinate courts. They want to, take away the power from courts and the executives and make Congress in control. They want amnesty with reduced border enforcement, okay? So they want open borders. They want to defund or reimagine. That's a new word, by the way. They want to reimagine policing and prisons. But basically they want to get rid of them, and they want better control. They want more control over industries, Mert. This is not America. This is government oversight.
That is America. America will tax you, and it is for the best, because if you want to have a strong military that's well funded, you got to take the money from the people. So if the military is going to be strong, then the people have to be strong, and so we need to give the people more.
But none
if they
of these
feel like
systems,
they're struggling and they're paying taxes,
are ignorant as far as I'm concerned, because if they look at history,
well, you're a Democrat, so you calling yourself
the Soviet
ignorant?
Union, the Maoist China, Venezuela, Chavez, Maduro, Cuba. Name a system, one of those systems that worked.
No. We're not saying we want to be China.
Socialism and communism.
We're saying we want to merge.
Shortages.
There's a merging that we want to take place. We don't want to be China or Venezuela. We want certain aspects of socialism. That's what they're saying, to merge into the capitalistic system.
Capitalism. They say you can't be a billionaire. You can't make a certain amount of money. That's government controlling what you can make, what you can create.
Man, I don't care what somebody says you can.
Well, that's what
the reality is you can be
AOC.
You have a good idea, you could become a billionaire. And AOC was not talking about stripping people of being a billionaire. She was talking about the corruption that takes place for some people to become billionaires. That's what she's referring to, and I understand where she's coming from. To try to sully that young lady's name who's just trying to do stuff from the kindness of her heart, you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to do that.
Look, I think what part of the reasons that we don't have enough time to deal with it, believe it or not, we're almost out of time. You've got educational brainwashing. If you look at the stats, Mert, a large chunk of educators, particularly in the college system, the progressives outrank conservatives by wide margins, 8-1, 12-1. In an area like sociology, I saw the number of professors, 44 progressive to 1 conservative in an area like sociology. This impacts how the kids think. So we've got educators with demented, distorted agendas in elite schools that are poisoning the minds of our young people. It's a form of brainwashing, and I think this has got to stop. Then also, you know what else is happening? Foreign money. You've got millions of dollars coming in from China and other countries like Qatar that are trying to eat away at the fabric of America, and this cannot continue. This is just not acceptable, because what we don't want to be, you just said a few minutes ago,
Wait a minute, hold on a second. You sound crazy, because think about this. The capitalist system, it thrives when money is the generator. So if you're trying to deny,
strings.
I don't care where the money comes from.
How dare you equate
that
foreign money?
That is the generator of capitalism. Capitalism does not say the money should come from here. It says whoever has the most money wins. And I'm ashamed that you would try to slant
to change the fabric of America, and you think that's okay. Ryan, is he crazy
wait a minute.
today,
Hold on a second. It's kind of socialist to deny somebody who has enough money an opportunity to spend that money in this great country. So are you for that and not this other stuff as well, trying to give people who actually live here some stuff? Are we going to protect the people or not? Are we going to let it be a free-for-all
like you want it to be? What we need to protect. We need to protect the American dream, the sacred promise
that's
that no matter where you start, through grit and innovation and freedom, you can build a better life for yourself and your children. That is under attack, and the reason it's under attack, the data is clear. The warning signs are flashing red. The American dream isn't guaranteed. It has to be defended every single day. My friends, if you heard nothing else, don't let our country, our principles that we stand for, die on our watch. Stand up, speak out, and vote like the future of freedom depends on it, because it does. Amen. Now you're listening to Shake It Off with Bert and Lucas Live. You're truly honored to have you along with us for the ride. Just in case you're keeping count, this is episode 107. Would you believe it? This is Lucas Ferrara. We're ever mindful without you. We're nothing, and we're truly grateful to have you along for the ride. We've got some great guests in store for you today. Before we unleash them, let me introduce the Mertonator, my co-host Mert Roberts. No one in this universe can mess with him, as you heard. Engineering and producing this show, none other than Ryan Pagano, who's got a great podcast called Pags' Perspective. Please check it out. And Master Control, Hermine Santos. Thank you, Hermine. We appreciate all you do to get this show out there. We have some special guests. First hour, Steve and Dr. Kathy Boyls. They're co-authors of I've Been to Heaven. Oh, it's an inspirational story about what there may be beyond this earthly plane. And then hour two, we're going to talk to Leslie Lee Sanders about her book, Ready to Listen, Listening to Yourself. That's going to be jam-packed, my friends. Don't you dare drift. Don't blink. Shake it off with Mert, Ryan, all of us at here at AM 970 returns after these messages.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Born on America's darkest day of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. Heroes like Fire Captain Andrew Donner. Inspired by the bravery of New York City's firefighters on 9/11, Andrew devoted his life to serving his community. He rose to the ranks of his fire department, sharing his knowledge, training rigorously, and leading with courage. But after a brave battle, Andrew lost his life to lung cancer caused by occupational toxins. Andrew leaves behind his beloved wife, Jessica, their son, his parents, and sister. Tunnel to Towers honored Andrew by paying the Donner family's mortgage. Please help more families like the Donners. Your donation to Tunnel to Towers can bring hope and security to families who have sacrificed so much for us. Donate $11 a month. Go to t2t.org. That's T2T.org.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1862, Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act, helping states create colleges focused on agriculture, mechanics, science, and practical education. The principle was not centralized control, it was opportunity. Lincoln's Morrill Act reminds us that America can support education without surrendering education to Washington. Why did it matter? Because a free nation needs citizens equipped to work, build, steward, and govern themselves. Scripture gives work a sacred weight. In Genesis, God placed man in the garden to work it and to keep it. Proverbs honors the one who works his land. Paul warns against idleness and calls believers to earn their bread. Why does that still matter today? Because education should form capable people under God, not dependent subjects under bureaucracy.
Hi, it's Arthur Aidala here for Bay Ridge Mazda, run by my buddy Rob Sabah, a family-owned and operated Mazda dealership. At Bay Ridge Mazda, buying a car feels straightforward, comfortable, and personal. Their team takes the time to understand what matters most to you, your budget, your lifestyle, and how you really drive. They offer a great selection of new Mazdas, along with a wide range of high-quality pre-owned vehicles, all fully inspected and ready for the road. And when you call or text, you won't reach a call center. You'll speak with someone right there at the dealership, focused on helping you find the right fit. Bay Ridge Mazda, where every customer gets a real conversation and a clear path forward. Visit them at 9000 4th Avenue in Brooklyn or call or text 855-332-3476, 855-332-3476, 855-332-3476.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Interesting beat. What's the name of that one, Ryan?
Well, this one, Lucas, is called Move to Heaven by Contra.
How fitting, Ryan, given our next guests. Steve and Kathy Boyls are the husband and wife team behind I've Been to Heaven, a dual narrative memoir born from one of the most harrowing medical battles of the COVID era. Steve, a veteran software engineer and business owner, spent 45 days on a ventilator and 3.5 months in the hospital and emerged with a vivid, structured account of what he describes as a journey to heaven. Oh boy, I can't wait to speak to him about that. His wife, Dr. Kathy, a board-certified pediatrician with additional training in functional medicine, fought on the ground, navigating hospital bureaucracy, advocating for life-saving interventions, and refusing to let her husband go. Together, they deliver a rare two-perspective story, one from the ICU bed and one from the trenches outside it, blending medicine, faith, trauma, and the mystery of what happens when a life truly hangs in the balance. Welcome to the program, Steve and Dr. Kathy.
Thank you very much. We're happy to be here.
Thank you.
So, Steve, if I may start with you, take us back to the moment everything went dark. What's the first thing you remember after losing consciousness?
The first thing I remember after losing consciousness was an angel appearing to me, and he basically was there in front of me, and he said, "Hello, Steve. My name is Marzuka. You spell that Marzuka, and I'm here to take you to heaven for a short time while your body heals." And
so the angel told you, Steve, that it was only a short visit, so you knew right off the bat that you were going to come back to life. That's interesting.
Yes, I knew that from the very beginning. So I thought, well, this would be great because I will be coming back. The part is that Kathy didn't know that. She didn't hear that conversation.
Wow. Now, I've saw some of your interviews online because this topic really fascinates me. Can you tell us, other than the angel, who else greeted you when you went to heaven?
Oh, gosh, I got to see my niece who had gotten killed about a week before she was supposed to get married, and that was in a car accident. I saw my brother who had I missed dearly. I saw all the dogs that we'd ever had were in heaven.
That's the part that fascinated me, Steve. In fact, I told you a story to a friend of mine, I told her you were coming on the show. And when she heard that all your dogs that you've ever had custody of during your lifetime welcomed you, she was tearing. She was crying. What was your reaction to seeing these little creatures that had been part of your life welcoming you?
Well, it was quite a shock, to be honest with you. I mean, I saw this group of dogs running in the distance, and they were all kind of together, and they were all coming towards me. And I was like, well, what is this, coming up towards me? And as I started getting closer, I started recognizing them as the dogs that we had. And we'd had, like, 6 huskies. I had a Malamute, not a Malamute. I had a Labrador, a mixed dog who was part Chow and Labrador. I had like 8 dogs up there, and they all coming up to me, and they were all in such a wonderful shape. Now the thing is, they had all died at a really old age. One of them came into our garage one day when it was like 110 outside, and he basically just plopped in our garage and didn't want to leave. So we just basically kept him. that it looked like somebody had dumped him off because he had one eye, he had a really bad limp, and he had a big scar across his one of his front legs. But I saw him in heaven. He had both eyes. He ran perfectly. He had the most beautiful coat. All the dogs looked wonderful and perfect. They weren't old. In fact, everybody that I saw in heaven looked like they were between 25 and 30. I'm not a great judge of age, but that's the age range that I would put them in. They all looked really young and healthy.
So did your niece, did your brother, or did your dogs, or did they communicate with you in any way?
Oh, well, yeah, I talked to my niece, and I gave her a big hug. And I got to tell you, everybody that I hugged in heaven had a solid feel to them. It wasn't any kind of wispy thing. They were solid. I hugged my brother. I hugged my parents. I hugged Kathy's parents. The dogs, I could pet them all and rub them, and they were solid. I mean, it was just like they were real. They were like just real.
Were there any other people, or just people that you knew, people or animals that you knew? I'm just curious what the setting was like.
I saw birds in trees that, I don't know who they were, but they were birds. I saw horses that were in heaven, and I never owned a horse, but I saw them in heaven. We had a son that my wife had miscarried when she was early in pregnancy, and I saw the little boy. His name was Daniel, and she had named him Daniel before she had the miscarriage because she thought it was going to be a boy, and she had always liked the name Daniel. So she named him Daniel. And, and I saw him. He actually came up to me, and he goes, "Hi, I think you're my dad. My name's Daniel." And what kind of blew me away. Even in heaven, you can get blown away with surprises at times, I guess. And so I told him that we were going to have a little baby, and we thought it was going to be a boy. And he said, "I've been here since I was really little." And so he said he was raised with a bunch of other little babies that were there.
You know what, Kathy, Dr. Kathy? While Steve seems to be having a fun time up in heaven, you seem to have been suffering down on earth. I mean, how were things for you? Was it as torturous as I would think it might be when you're worried about whether or not your husband was going to make it?
Well, it was pretty rough. I mean, I didn't know he was experiencing all the joy of heaven. I wanted to call the book Joy in Heaven and Hell on Earth because I had the hell on earth part.
Understood.
Not realizing, but when he was put on the ventilator and placed in a medically induced coma, first of all, because it was during COVID, they wouldn't allow me to go in and see him for 20 days. 20 days. I couldn't go and see my own husband, so I knew
that was because this was during COVID, right? That was the problem?
That was because of a hospital committee rule that told me that was not based on scientific information. That was because the hospital committee decided that. Although I was able to, as a physician, go in and see any of my patients that I wanted to, so it was a very crazy time. But I did obey the rules because I wanted to make sure that he was going to be okay, and they were in charge. So I knew my appeal had to be to heaven. It couldn't be to anywhere else because there was no control that I had. I had absolutely no say in anything that was going on. And so really all of my appeal for my husband was to God. And in prayer, and so I spent a lot of time in prayer and a lot of time in God's Word and speaking Bible verses and scriptures over my husband.
This is very interesting. So so your medical training didn't help; it was your beliefs that helped you during this crisis. Did I get that right?
Yes, that is right. That is right. Now, I do know things that were done that weren't very good because, I'm a pediatrician, so I don't have too much experience with the adult ICU. I have no experience with the adult ICU, but I do have 5 doctor girlfriends that help me through, and we would have a group chat, and we would be on the phone sometimes, and, there were things that were going on that I just wasn't real happy about, and yet there was nothing I could do about it. So again, it was through prayer, and it was through God's power that Steve was able to recover. Not, he was very close to death many times.
So he was out for 45 days. He was unconscious for 45 days. Is that correct? Or was he unconscious for longer than that?
He was on a ventilator for 45 days. He was actually in the coma, the medically induced coma, for about 3 weeks. Okay. After the first, he was intubated after he'd been in the hospital for about 5 days. That's when he got placed on the ventilator. So then after that, in that first 20 days, I couldn't go in. But then when I could go in, that was when he was finally coming out of the medically induced coma, but still on the ventilator. He had a trach, and so still connected to the ventilator, although he could be, he was
hey, Doc.
conscious.
Doc, we have to take a quick commercial break. But when we return, Steve and Dr. Kathy Boyls will rejoin us to talk about their book, I've Been to Heaven. It's a book that combines one near-death experience, one determined physician, and more hospital drama than a full season of primetime TV. For more information about the Boyls, check out their website, steveandkathyb.com. You can find their book, I've Been to Heaven, on Amazon. When they come back, expect the conversation to lift off, the questions to deepen, and the truth to stroll in wearing a hospital bracelet. Don't go away.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
We love bringing you products that improve your life. Well, this product can save your life or the life of those we cherish the most, our youngest children. There are approximately 5,000 choking deaths in the U.S. each year. One child dies every 5 days from choking. Children under the age of 5 are most at risk. There is a solution. It's called LifeVac. Arthur Lee is the founder, CEO, and inventor of LifeVac. LifeVac is a simple rescue device that can change your child's life in a choking emergency. It's non-invasive and easy to use, and one kit fits the whole family. If you have a young child in your family, I strongly recommend you visit the LifeVac website. That's LIFEVAC.net. Listen to Arthur's compelling story and view the videos demonstrating its ease of use. LifeVac works in 3 simple steps: place, push, and pull. The LifeVac device dislodges the obstruction and suctions out the food or object. It's that simple. LifeVac.net, made in the USA and FDA registered.
Hey, Joe Piscopo, I want to tell you about gold, silver, and Landmark Capital. Over the past 2 years, gold and silver have outperformed all the major stock indexes. That's why a lot of people are rolling over their 401ks, IRA, and the physical gold and silver to take advantage of the protection of performance. And our friends at Landmark Capital can help you do this. Now is the time to move. They make it simple. You'll be educated on the different precious metal markets so you can choose what markets are best for you. That'll put you in the driver's seat, and your retirement will be safe, diversified, and growing. Give Landmark Capital a call, 844-604-2575, 844-604-2575. And when you do that, you could have a free, no-obligation strategy call with Mr. David Fisher, the CEO of Landmark Capital, and his team, 844-604-2575, 844-604-2575, or go online to landmarkgold.com. That's landmarkgold.com.
We can tell you about the incredible success we bring to local businesses, but it's better when it comes directly from our satisfied clients. Here's just one example.
After searching for a new vendor to handle my search marketing campaign, I contacted Salem Surround after seeing the great work they did for another restoration company in the different market. Their team of experts recommended a mix of multiple tactics designed to get my business the most quality leads at the lowest cost, making my marketing budget stretch further. In our first year partnering with Salem Surround, we recorded our best year to date, and I've told many people how blessed I was to find them. The representative answered the phone every time I called and quickly addressed any questions or concerns I had.
Let Salem Surround give you an absolutely free audit of your current marketing and show you what your competition is doing. Then, we come up with a personalized plan that's perfect for your needs. Google Salem Surround New York and let our marketing experts help you achieve real success. Remember to Google Salem Surround New York today.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
We are back with Steve and Dr. Kathy Boyls, the husband and wife team behind I've Been to Heaven, a dual perspective memoir born from one of the most intense medical battles of the COVID era. Now, Steve, as we said before, spent 45 days on a ventilator and 3.5 months in the hospital and emerged with a vivid, structured account of what he describes as a journey to heaven. And thus far, it sounds pretty inspirational. Dr. Kathy, a board-certified pediatrician, fought on the ground, navigating the hospital bureaucracy, advocating for life-saving interventions, and refusing to let her husband slip away. For more information about the Boyls and their work, visit their great website. It's easy to find, steveandkathyb.com. That's Steve and Kathy B, that's K, Kathy with the K, and KathyB.com. Their book, I've Been to Heaven, is available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. And of course, we'll have the links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Now, Steve and Kathy, I have to give you credit for one thing. My co-host, the Mertinator, has never been silent for an entire segment in the history of this show, and we didn't hear from him for the entire time. So I'm telling you, you may have a convert here. I'm going to throw it to Mert. Go, my friend. Go.
Well, I got a question because I wanted to ask this from the beginning, but you got to let the segment breathe a little bit before you ask the deep question. So let me ask you this: was heaven better than being on earth with your wife? Because that's something that I'm curious about. If you knew that you could end your life in return to heaven, would you make that decision, or do you feel like the love you have for your wife is worth it to come back on earth and potentially risk, because you could potentially mess that up and not get a pass back up there? Would you make that? Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so let me explain. So heaven's an amazing place, and it's an amazing place that I look forward to going back to someday. But God sent me back for a reason, because He's got work for me to do. And so I go with God's will. And if it had been God's will for me to stay there, I'd be there. But He sent me back because as He told me while I was up there before I left, that He's got work for me to do.
So to be clear, you're saying this was not your decision to come back. You feel like you were sent back because you still have a purpose on earth. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And, like the angel told me, he said, I'm taking you up there for a short time. Right. So I kind of knew immediately that I was going to get a round trip. Okay, put it in those terms. So I was going to get a round trip and I'd be coming back. But I think, part of the reason is that, people wonder about, what happens when we die? What's heaven going to be like? And I got to see probably a lot more than what a lot of people may have gotten to see. I mean, by my calculations and Kathy's calculations, I might have been up there close to 3 weeks while I was on this in this coma. And I saw all kinds of stuff while I was up there.
Did it feel like 3 weeks?
No, it was a funny thing because I told my brother when I saw him, I said, Ted, it's been like 30 years since you passed away, and I've missed you so much. And he said it feels like I just got here. And you know what? It felt like I just got there because I had no concept of time because there's no nighttime. It's not like day and night. There's no clocks around there, but it's just an amazing place. And there's things to do. My angel, Marzuka, told me, he said, people need to change their concepts of heaven. Because, all the early pictures, you see little angels on clouds floating, playing harps. Well, there's no babies playing harps on clouds because, first off, there's no clouds in heaven. I saw no clouds.
Let me ask another question to the wife.
Sure.
How long of a period did it take before this experience was even talked about? Because I'm pretty sure you were sitting there just hoping that your husband would return. So, how long did it take for you to get to this conversation where it was like, wait a minute, I went up there and I got to experience all this? How long of a period was that before that conversation came up?
Well, I think Steve didn't really remember. So when he very first woke up or started to wake up from the medically induced coma when the drugs were lightened a bit, he didn't have a memory of it at that moment. It was really when he was in the third hospital, when he was in a rehab hospital, that he can describe it, but he just had this flood of memories come back to him, and he was kind of nervous about telling me because he thought I think he was kind of crazy. And so,
right.
So he had to really process it and kind of pray about it, and, before he started sharing it, because to him, it was like you'd gone on a vacation. It was that real, like a memory. It wasn't, I had a dream. And there was so much detail in what he saw that, it was just totally amazing.
What was your initial reaction? Did you instantly understand, or was there a period of you like, hey, I got to process this before I just accepted it? What was your honest reaction when he first revealed this to you?
Well, when he first told me that, the first thing that he remembered, which was kind of vague, and he said, well, it's kind of weird. I remember being out of my body and seeing my body laying, like looking like it was on the ground. And I saw two pictures. One was my body kind of in a black and white, and I didn't look very good. Just a black and white type of picture, but I looked gray, and it was awful. Then I saw my body in a kind of these like red and white striped pajamas, and we didn't really know what to make of that. And I kept saying, well, did you see the ventilator? People that have NDEs, they are floating up by the ceiling, and they see their body, they see the ventilator, they see the people in the room. Nope, didn't see any of that. Well, then a little bit later is when he started saying, well, I know what happened now. This angel came to me, and then he spelled his name, and I said, he spelled his name? Really? And I'm like, that's kind of weird. But then, I know my husband, and he always asks me to spell things, because he's more of the numbers guy in software, and I'm more of the speller. So he would say, how do you spell that? And I thought, that's not really characteristic of Steve, that he would actually spell something out like that.
Right.
And so the more that he started telling me, I was like, wow, this is amazing. So, that's how it would come to him kind of in these large segments, and he would just remember, and I'd be writing everything down and asking tons and tons of questions.
Hey, Doc, and Steve, all due respect to you, so please don't misunderstand where I'm coming from. But, Doc, you did mention he was on drugs, coma. He was a coma-induced state, medically induced coma. And there are also some scientific explanations about the synapses. And when our brain starts going crazy, we then think we're seeing all this astral stuff and projections of heaven. But it's just our minds playing games on us. Where does this line? Where do you draw this line? You know what I mean?
Well, I think what you have to realize is that he didn't remember any of this when he was under the influence of the drugs. And he had some weird dreams and weird things happen while he was under the influence of drugs. This is way later. This was like 2 months later when he had no drugs in his system. And then he had the flood of memories come back to him. So it was not drug-induced, because he could go ahead and tell him kind of the difference.
Well, okay, so kind of the difference is that, I remember smells of heaven. I remember people hugging me. Those are not things that you would just, that my synapses or whatever. And we have a very good friend who is a neurosurgeon who explained how your spirit can actually leave your body while your body, would stay in a hospital bed. He gave a 30-minute talk on that one night at the place where he was speaking, and we heard it, and it was a very amazing explanation, because he says as a neurosurgeon he's seen stuff like this going on. And so I was a little hesitant about sharing a whole lot of stuff, but it's so real to me. And I've been on vacations to some of my favorite places, and I have stronger memories of going to heaven than I ever did of going to the beach or going to a good restaurant. It's heaven it's hard to explain, but it's more real than earth, because earth has deteriorated over millennia that it's been in existence. Heaven is still pristine. It hasn't worn out. It still looks brand new.
That's what I was going to ask you about. That is heaven of earth. For example, is there like a couch that you could sit on in heaven, or is it something?
There's stuff to sit on. I sat at a table with my mom and my grandmother, and we talked, and we actually had some food. I saw my dad, and my dad used to be a carver, wood carver, and he had a carving room where he was doing all these elaborate type of carvings that he was doing. There's all kind of stuff in heaven that. There's actually sports in heaven. Okay, so I'll let people read the book if they want to find out about the sports in heaven. But heaven is just an amazing place, and that's all I can say, because I can remember the smells of the places that I went, or the flowers. The flowers have interwoven colors to them. It's like swirls of colors, not just a solid red or a solid white or whatever. God's got an imagination, and He can do all kind of amazing things with. And the thing is, there's colors in heaven that you can't see on earth, because your spiritual eyes have a wider spectrum of colors that it can pick up as opposed to your natural eye.
Steve, Kathy, what do you hope readers take away from your book, I've Been to Heaven? What is the central message or theme, or what do you hope is communicated and shared?
For me, I think the central hope is the fact that, heaven's a real place. It's a real place, and it's not just a figment of somebody's imagination or anything like that. It's a real place, and there's only one way to get there. I hate to preach, but there's only way to get there, and that's to accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and ask Him, to come into your heart. That's the biggest thing. And the other thing is, after I woke up from my coma, I joined the Hell on Earth part with Kathy, because I had to, I had to stay positive. As hard as that sounds like to be, I had to be positive about, I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go back and do the things I want to do. When I was in the rehab hospital, people would say, "Oh, you just got to get used to the new normal." And I said, "No, I don't. I can go back and do the things that I always wanted to do and were doing, and that's what I'm doing today."
Kathy, Dr. Kathy, what do you hope people take away from I've Been to Heaven?
Well, I want people to understand the power of prayer, that we always do have an appeal to heaven, that we can pray to our Father God through Jesus, and He will hear and He will answer. God still does miracles today.
Oh, my friends, would you believe we've run out of time? And we have so many more questions for you. And now that Mert is back on this planet, because I think he took a side trip, he's got a bunch of questions for you as well. But thank you so much for coming on the program. For more information about the Boyls and their work, visit steveandkathyb.com. That's Steve and Kathy with a K, B.com. You'll find their book, I've Been to Heaven, on Amazon and wherever books are sold. And we'll also have the links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Thank you both for coming on.
Wait, hold it. One more question. One more question.
Make it fast.
Was there bathrooms? Was that a thing in heaven, bathrooms? I just got to ask that. I know it's a dumb question. Was there bathrooms?
No, I didn't see any bathrooms.
Okay,
I never went to the bathroom.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. Thanks for coming on the program. We hope you had fun. Next up, Leslie Lee Sanders. She's an Arizona-based author, speaker, and creative powerhouse who's written more than 30 books, like psychological thrillers, dystopian fiction, romance, and now a spiritual memoir. Her latest work, Ready to Listen, chronicles her journey from self-silencing to self-trust, a candid, often funny, often raw exploration of intuition, awakening, and finally learning to stop shrinking to fit other people's expectations. So it's important you come back after the news at the top of the hour, suffer through a few commercial messages. But once that's all done, Mert, Ryan, and I, along with the rest of the AM 970 team, will be reading right here for you. We know you want it. We know you want to shake it off with us. We know you do. So please come back for hour 2. Shake it off with Mert and Lucas live. Lots more controversy and maybe, just maybe, some answers await.
The preceding hour of programming, sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
In a world that screams for your attention, there is a place that invites you to peace. You don't need a building. You don't need a choir. You just need to turn your heart to Air One.
Air One, songs that heal, lyrics that pray for you when you don't have the words.
From Lauren Daigle to Elevation Worship and more.
This isn't just radio. It's worship for the everyday.
Escape the noise and worship now.
Download the Air One app. Ask your smart speaker to play Air One or visit air1.com. Air One, worship now.